Well, hello there. Welcome to the Obi Thorn Alliance. I'm Jacob.
And I'm Luke.
And in today's video, we are doing our top 5 favourite TV shows of all time. Like and subscribe, hit the notification bell to be notified for the next coming video. And I guess let's get into the top 5. Do you want to kick us off with the rules and we'll each go?
Yeah, well, the rules are, originally we thought that the show would need to be completely finished, but thinking about that, that's very hard because shows get rebooted. So so to limit it to that can be tricky, but Jacob has picked all shows that are finished, and I have picked some that have not finished yet but have lots and lots of seasons. So it's not like I'm saying they've had one season, it's my favourite show of all time. They've had 10 plus seasons. So I think that's enough data to confirm whether it's a good enough show or not. So in general, shows that have finished or had lots of seasons and there's no limit to their category, they just can't be a mini series basically or a limited series, but they just have to be an ongoing series. And I think we've got very, very different and interesting lists. So
You want to kick us off?
So I'll go first. So I tossed and turned about what should make the list. I feel like I've definitely missed things that I forgot, but I've started off with number 5. I've gone with The Office, the US version. The reason I went with this was I think it's an all-round funny comedy. I think it's liked by a lot of people. I think it's very rewatchable. It's easy to watch when you're to binge basically because the episodes aren't too long. They're funny. It carries on, which makes it good. I do like comedies where the episodes are a bit scattered, but this actually does have a kind of ongoing theme. There's enough seasons to build the characters, and it has a cool concept, and it finishes really well. I think not just for a comedy, I think in general, for any series, I think it has a really, really nice ending that some people criticize because they think that the whole show is a waste of time because the way it ended was like, well, what was the point? But then what's the point of anything? If you look at it that way, if you think you should just skip to the end and close it off. But I think it had a really tidy ending for a series.
Very nice choice. I do have to admit, with The Office, when I used to watch it at school of all places, I used to think, oh, this is a silly show. And then when I watched it myself as an adult, grew on me. I think when you watch it as a correct order, you see the storyline and the jokes, and then when you just watch a random episode, to me, it's like, what the hell is this silly nonsense?
I think as well for a show, it also had several seasons where main characters were gone, and I don't actually think it hurt the show, where some other shows, if you were to take away big characters, it could spell the end of the show. Something like a 2.5 Men come to mind.
Yeah.
So I don't think this happened in this instance. Yes, they weren't as good, but they were still funny, and the show overall still ended really well. So it's number 5 for me.
My number 5 is a show called Sons of Anarchy, and this show is basically a concept of the plot, and the premise is basically they are a bunch of bikies, and it's set in America, and basically Jack is the vice president and his father used to be the president of the bikie club, and they go against other bikie clubs and other like law gangs, and it just shows you how that world works. And I just found the show really gripping, and it's not the best acting, it's not the best acting, but it's just, it hooks you in. The only nitpick I had with the show is it's like the writers, because in the first 2 episodes, the characters were really unlikable. So it's like the writers were like, how are we going to make these like criminals likable. So they eventually do that, and interesting fact is that one of the writers actually acts in the show as well, so that was pretty cool as well. So yeah, Sons of Anarchy is number 5.
Yeah, it's a show I have not watched yet, but have been told by a lot of people
You should
it's
watch
worth
it.
watching. How many seasons is there?
7.
Okay. I think it's something I might get around to some point. The concept is something that interests me for sure. So at number 4, I've gone with another comedy. I've gone with Always Sunny in Philadelphia. This was the show I was talking about earlier that it isn't finished, and it seemingly is never going to end. There's currently 15 seasons released, and they're signed on for another 3, making it the longest running. I think it's considered the longest running live action comedy. I can't remember, that's the category or something like that, but there's not many shows that have 18 seasons that aren't, like a soap opera or a late night talk show. So to have that many seasons, the main characters are the actors, the producers, the writers. They do everything. I think that's why the show keeps continuing on. It's super clever in the way it tackles political and real life problems, but they somehow make it funny. The characters are horrible people, but are likable, which is a really odd thing to do. That if you really sat back and thought about it, they are the worst kind of people and should be villains, but instead you like them, and it's just really funny. It now has its own podcast that goes along with the show, which has now enhanced the show even more for me, and it is one of the most popular shows around. That's why it's got so many seasons, and why people they've been holding off on putting it on streaming services, and it's been changing from service to service because it's quite a hot property because people want to pay to watch it. So Always Sunny in Philadelphia is my number 4.
Yeah, you even got me to convince me to watch an episode, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, you definitely laughed at it, considering it was in the 10th season, so there was really no context to the characters, and you still got a laugh out of it.
My number 4 is a show called Dexter. For people that haven't seen this show, basically the concept is that it's about a serial killer, but unlike other serial killers that just kill for the joy or, for the thrill of it, he actually has a moral compass, and he only kills other serial killers or other bad people in his moral code. So this show went for 8 seasons and also has a New Blood limited series that I haven't seen, but its original run is the first season has to be the best TV that I've ever seen. Luke's just recently watched it, and I think hands down it's the best. You would think you would actually hate the serial killer, but it actually makes you feel for him, and it actually makes you want him to get caught, but somehow you actually want him to get away with it at the same time, because he does the right thing by killing these bad people. Or does he? It's up to interpretation and how the storyline goes, and yeah, definitely one of the best shows, and I think it well deserves being on anyone's top list.
Yeah, well, I've seen the first episode and I'm pretty gripped. I like the concept that I would say he's possibly on the spectrum. He has this, it shows flashbacks of him as a kid in the first episode, and he's has this urge to want to start killing animals and then wants to kill humans, and his foster dad is kind of teaching him how he can harness that want to kill but use it for good per se, by saying, there's bad people out there and the police can't catch them all, so maybe you could do something about that. So I really do like that concept, but he is he's likable but creepy at the same time, so I'm intrigued to see where that series goes. My number 3, I've gone with Power. So again, this is
thought it was going to be number 1.
No, so that's kind of an interesting one with Power. So the original series is finished, but they've now set up a Power universe where there is spin-off series which are equally as good. So this is just the original series titled Power, and this series follows a crime family in New York City that...
I didn't get that.
a crime family that's in New York City, and the father wants to move away from selling drugs to having a legitimate business. So he purchases nightclubs, which he uses to launder his money to make it legitimate money, but eventually the nightclub becomes so popular that he can move away from needing to launder drug money to no longer selling drugs to just being a legitimate businessman. And it's just not that simple. And this show has a lot of, cat and mouse with the police, a lot of, dealing with the justice system and court. And, again, it's that bad guy, but you want him to get away. You're rooting for the villain, which seems to be something that really captures people's attention and makes a good show.
Yeah.
It must be something inside humans that want to like bad people. It's odd, but generally good series tend to be about bad people doing good things or doing bad things, but people still like them. So that's my number 3.
My number 3 is a show called The Mentalist. And The Mentalist is starring Simon Baker, who is Australian, had to put someone as an Australian in the top 5. And basically he is he can, basically he can,
like read people really well.
Yeah, read people, and then he gets caught up with trying to find a serial killer called Red John. And basically that turns out to be a wrong thing to antagonize him, because Red John ends up doing something towards his family, and that basically causes him to deny that what he actually is, and then he helps the CBI hunt down Red John, and then that is the best TV that I think is on there, that personal vengeance. And he even says to the team that if I get Red John, I'm going to kill him. And that basically is the main storyline from season 1 to 5. And then for the other 2 seasons, something else happens there. And then we get, I guess, a happy ending. But yeah, definitely really enjoyed The Mentalist, and definitely think it's one of the best shows of all time.
Yeah, I've seen episodes here and there of The Mentalist, but I've never watched in any particular order. But I do know that those that have seen it speak very highly of it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll get around to watching it, though. I think that might be one that I'll give a miss, but I can acknowledge that it is popular, but maybe it's just not for me. So number 2, I've gone with The OC. So this is a show that I think deserved a lot more seasons. It only got 4 seasons. It came out right when I was finishing primary school and entering high school. So for me, it's kind of attached to memories, which makes it good. But in saying that, rewatchable, I've rewatched it 3 times now. And I watched it originally when I was, 13, 14 to early 20s to late 20s, and still liked it later on. So it has memories attached to it, but still is good. 4 seasons, it's not very long. Each episode, 40, 50 minutes long. Very gripping about basically rich kids growing up in Orange County in California, and just the things they go through, whether it's drugs, alcohol, parents committing crimes, but it's just about like high school life and love and relationships, but it's just gripping, exciting. We see, when it first came out, it took the world by storm, and the actors in it have gone on to do big things. So we've got Ben McKenzie that was in Gotham. He played Jim Gordon in that. We've got Adam Brody, who's gone on to do lots and lots of things and was recently in Shazam. We've got, Misha Barton, who was, super famous but kind of disappeared now, but I believe she's big in the fashion world. And then, I can't think for the life of me, the other main character that plays Summer, she was in a show called Heart of Dixie. And she, she's quite famous herself. So there's a few other notable actors that were in it. Towards the last season, we saw Chris Pratt was in it before he became famous. It may have been one of his first ever roles, and he was hilarious in this show. So, a lot of people started out on The OC, and it's just an awesome show that I think a lot of people can watch and still enjoy, but cut short due to one character wanting a bit more money and them not willing to pay it, and then creating an extra season without her, and which I liked but wasn't received very well and kind of spelled the end of the show, unfortunately.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be your number one.
No, something different.
Okay.
What's your number two?
My number two was a show called Person of Interest, and I just love how it deals with like technology and someone that was able to build this network that could watch us, and they are able to get numbers, and they basically, the person could be the victim or the perpetrator, and I just love how the story goes between season 1 to season 3. It's about taking down the corruption within, lawyers, the police, within the police, and then season 4 to 5 we get a different storyline. So just seeing that dynamic, one of the best characters in television, and I really enjoyed the 5 seasons. They were trying to start like a spin-off show, but that never got anywhere, and definitely worth watching because the machine and the technology, it's happening now. So it says it's a science fiction, but we live in that world, and that's what I love about it, because it keeps you aware that the government can do stuff, and that, what makes it such a great show. And I've watched it over twice, and just, yeah.
I've honestly never seen it and know nothing about this show. I think I've heard it mentioned, but I know nothing about it. So my number one, which I don't know, Jacob thought it was going to be Power, and he thought it was OC. Based on that, what do you think it could be? What other show haven't I mentioned?
Haven't you mentioned? I
talk about it a lot. I've recommended it to a lot of people. Recently finished, 10 seasons long.
Friends?
No, not Friends. Friends finished ages ago. No, I've gone with Shameless.
Oh, Shameless. Okay.
So Shameless is without a doubt the best show I've ever seen. It's, there's daylight between it and second. Everyone that I've recommended to watch it and has watched more than a couple of episodes and gotten into the series has absolutely loved it, and would probably rate it in their top 5 as well. It follows, well, this is the US version actually, so it's actually a remake of the British version, which is pretty much word for word the same, but I've not seen the British version, but I like the US version. So it follows a dysfunctional family that lives in Chicago. They, mother's missing, the dad's an alcoholic, the oldest sibling, she is pretty much runs the family, and then she has a few younger siblings below her, and it's about them struggling, to pay bills, put food on the table, go to school, battle with their sexuality, battle with the fact that, the government don't like them, there's crime that goes on in their area. It's just about family life, but to the extreme, but not so extreme that it's not believable. I think that I think it is relatable to a lot of people, especially if you've grown up in a poor neighborhood. I think it just captures what I imagine America to be like from someone that's not American. Just funny at times, it's very serious at others. There's not a bad season, there's not a bad episode of this show. There's no faults to this show whatsoever. The characters you grow to love, you think I could be best friends with these people, or I absolutely hate this person, they would be my sworn enemy. Even the father who becomes annoying because of the way he treats his family and his alcohol use, he's still so lovable because of he's funny and the way he goes about his things. There's some kind of respect to the hustle that he does every day just to get by and get his drugs and alcohol and continue to not work and cheat the system. There's respect for him and the amount of effort he puts in, and he's very smart and funny about how it goes. But yeah, it's all round, it's a perfect show for me.
My number one is Stargate SG-1, one of the best science fiction shows of all time. Also has some spin-off shows that finish, I guess, put them in the list as well. The Stargate franchise with notable characters like Colonel Jack O'Neill, Daniel Jackson, Teal'c, such great storyline. I've watched at least every episode with SG-1 at least 3 or 4 times. I think the storytelling, one major complaint that I do have is that the ending was a little bit lackluster, but besides that, they were actually meant to make a season 11 on iTunes of all places, but that never happened. They made a movie instead. So I would highly recommend SG-1 to any science fiction fan or anyone that likes action, and they're actually making a rebooted show on Amazon, so very hyped to see what the writers do with that show, and can't say anything else about Stargate SG-1. Probably get Luke to do an episode reaction of it
it's not a bad idea.
one day to see if he thinks I'm complete bocos or if he agrees or not. But that is our top 5. Any honorable mentions?
Yeah, there's a few that missed out for me. A show like South Park, I just found it hard to put in the top 5 because it's not serious at all, but yet it's so clever in its crude comedy. So South Park, is on the cusp. I respect that as one of the smartest shows ever, but it also ignores the fact it is so dumb. So it's hard to, I don't know where to put that. Something like even the spin-offs to the Power series. But in saying that, I like them because they're built off the hard work that Power already did. So as a standalone, they wouldn't be as special. But the Power Book Force, Power Book 2, Ghost, and Power Book 3, which is The Rise of Kanan, all of them are awesome and ongoing. And I'm glad it keeps the Power series alive. You got any honorable mention?
Breaking Bad definitely makes honorable mention. I just feel like because I haven't seen the movie could be terrible and just ruins the season. So Breaking Bad was close to making the list, but I do feel like there were some slow episodes, and even though the two main, Jesse and Walter, are probably one of the best characters of all time, I just feel like how the main villains at the end, I just didn't buy that that would have actually happened. A show named Justified, with a US Marshal starring Tiffany Olyphant, who's been in the Book of Boba recently and things like that, and also Ozarks. But the reason why that didn't make the list is because they're doing 2 parts and the second part hasn't finished yet.
I think also would have Seinfeld comes close, except for I think it gets ruined by the ending of the whole series.
It's terrible.
How I Met Your Mother, I really, really liked. I just don't think it's good enough to make the top 5. That fortunately had a poor ending, but an alternate ending, so you can kind of choose which one you like, which is cool. And Workaholics, again, is a show I absolutely love that I've recommended Jacob's watching episode 2 of that, but it's, it's not serious enough to be considered that good. It's just a quick laugh, but it come very close to making the list for me. It's just, it's very, very silly.
Well, thank you for helping, Luke. Hope you enjoyed the top 5 all-time favourite shows. Comment down below your top 5. Be curious to know the differences. And see you in the next video. Let the Force be with you. Bye-bye.